Welcome to the Ridgewood High School Maroon Minute. We're excited to share with you short snippets and interviews to give you a snapshot look into our community. We're proud of our staff and students and want you to get to know them on another level. Go Maroons! All right. Welcome back to another Maroon Minute. As always, we have another special episode for you. This one is really cool. If you've been watching these episodes, you know that we had an episode in the fall with Mr. K, Coach K, and we wanted to take this opportunity to bring Mr. K back now as a co-host and talk with some student athletes. So I want to thank Mr. K for kind of heading up this particular episode here where we want to talk with you guys and also just thank you guys for coming in. So why don't we kick off? We'll start here. Just introduce yourself and name, grade, sports that you play here at school, and then we'll kind of kick it off from there.
I'm Shea Gorman. I'm a senior at Ridgewood High School, and I play basketball and volleyball, and I've played them all 4 years I've been here.
I'm Nicky. I'm also a senior. I play basketball, and I plan on running track this spring.
I'm Grasso. I'm a senior. I play football, baseball, and I played basketball for 3 years.
Excellent. I guess first question that I'd want to start off with, and then we'll kind of bounce some other things out there too. What would you say has been the most positive thing about your experience as a high school student athlete?
I can start. So I would say coming to Ridgewood as a public school and being able to play with your friends for 4 years in football, 4 years in baseball, and 3 years in basketball, I would say like at the end of every season, the most joy when I would think back on it, it was just not like winning this, losing that, doing this, doing that. It'd be just playing with my friends, practicing with my friends. Because I think when you go to a different school, like a Catholic school, let's say, you don't have the opportunity to play with the kids you grew up with. So like at the end of football season, I'm done playing Ridgewood football, but I look back on it and I was like, I played with these kids since I was in 4th grade. So that's what definitely was special.
I'd 100% agree with that. A lot of the kids on my basketball team, especially the seniors, I've been playing with since, 3rd grade. And so, to be able to play with them and build relationships with them, relationships that I think will last a lifetime, has been extremely rewarding. Beyond that, just in terms of being a student athlete, being able to balance, school and also athletics is something, I think will be very valuable throughout life. Obviously, it's tough to, balance all of that given the rigor at Ridgewood High School, but it's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, I think the most important thing about being an athlete, especially for me, like they said, is playing with your friends and playing with people who you've played with your whole life. And I've been playing with the same team for basketball since 2nd grade, and volleyball is so fun with my team. We've all been on the same team since freshman year. It's just so awesome and such a great experience, and it makes it so much better playing with your friends and doing everything together. And then winning on top of that is just the best because you're all doing it with your friends and your team.
Yeah, that's awesome. And that's, I think the clear common thread there is just the camaraderie that it brings. And it's not always easy, right? And I think you and I were kind of talking about some of those not so easy times too. Yeah. I think you have a really great perspective on that.
I wanted to ask you three, as leaders for sure in your respective programs, which is partly why we wanted to get you three in. Before we get onto that other one, I wanted to ask you, what do you feel are the key characteristics that a role model or a leader should bring to a football program, to a basketball program, to a volleyball program?
I can start this one. Obviously it's important to be vocal, but I try to lead by example. Being a basketball player who's been on the team for 3 years, if I give 100% effort every day, younger kids see that and have no excuse but to do the same. And I think that's really important in building a culture for the years to come.
I agree. I think definitely leading by example, but also making sure that you don't think that you're above anyone else in any way, being equal with everyone, because that's what people respect. And making sure that everyone's a team and not excluding anyone, like making sure the camaraderie is good and making sure that everyone plays together and has a good time, and just caring about everyone and not separating groups based on age or who plays or not. Just playing together is definitely really important, and just making sure everyone has a good time.
I would say also holding your teammates accountable, because at some points as a leader, I think it's important to by holding them accountable, because like, you expect something out of them, and if I expect something out of them, they definitely expect something out of me. And if once I think you make it to the varsity level, like for football, for instance, like sophomores are on varsity. So if you play as a sophomore, you're a varsity player. You're not a sophomore anymore. So if you hold them accountable, and they have to do a job for your team, and then also if they succeed, you got to be their best bud, like pat them on the back, tell them great job. And then Nicky and Shea was talking about being leading by example. And I think I'm more of like a vocal guy, especially like in practice and game time. And I think that has its value, because if they can like listen to me and get behind me and like what I'm saying, then I think the whole team can come together.
Just going off what Joe was saying about holding kids accountable, you can be best friends off the court or off the field, but when you're, in practice or in a game, the goal is to win. So, you got to be able to hold kids accountable for the best interest of the team.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's I heard it said once that as a leader, you how was it put? You need to be willing to do whatever it is you're asking someone else to do, right? And so that's the idea of leading by example, right? In football, having coached football for years, right? Like, yes, everyone has a different role, but like for a senior to carry bags off the field too, or for a senior to go out and collect all the balls and not just say, hey, sophomores, go, that carries a lot of weight and lends itself to a positive culture. You used the word culture before. It goes a long way in helping establish a program, and each of the programs that you guys have been talking about also have, coaches who have been here for many years too. And so there's, hopefully great leadership examples there that foster the ability for you guys to step up and be leaders there, and so it's great for myself and maybe I can even speak for you too. Like, it's been great to watch you guys grow up in those programs and become the leaders that you are. So
yeah, I think I'd just like to add, I think you all mentioned it, playing with friends who you've known since you were in third or fourth grade is so important and such an underrated thing when you play in high school sports. This was my fourth year being a coach, and the seniors that are graduating this year have played together since they were very, very young, and that's such a cool experience. Whether you're winning or whether you're losing, Shea mentioned it. Winning's great and winning's a bonus. Nicky, you mentioned that you're always playing to win. All right, every Friday night, Joe, you're playing to win, but the main thing is you're doing it with your friends. You're doing it with people who you love and people who you're going to stay in touch with probably the rest of your life. And that shouldn't be underrated for sure.
And then to add on to that, like for a Friday night, like you run out with like 60 of like my brothers, my friends, and then you look up in the stands and like I think especially the senior class, we support each other a lot. Like I would look up in the stands and the entire student section is filled and people are going crazy and having a great time. And then just seeing that, I was like, these kids care, not about like, it's not about like yourself. It's about like the whole school and the whole camaraderie.
Yeah, I see the same thing in basketball. You go to other schools. We played it, and you don't see much of a student section. But our student section travels with us wherever we go. The other day, Northern Highlands. I mean, our student section was much bigger than theirs, and that's a half an hour drive or so. So, just going off what Joe said, it's great to have such a great camaraderie amongst sports. And
like you said, our senior class, I feel like, is so close, especially with the different sports and everything, and like in the halls you're literally talking about the games, like, oh, are you going to the game tonight, are you going to the game, are you going to the girls soccer game, are you going to the boys basketball game? Like, it's so cool to see everyone want to come together. And I think especially after COVID, everyone's like jumping on the opportunities to go to everything possible. And even when it was limited to 4 fans, everyone was like freaking out and so upset that they couldn't go to the games. But now that everyone is able to come, everyone shows up. You know, they weren't just complaining and then they don't show up to the games. Like, the stands were packed yesterday, and it's so awesome to see everyone come together, especially after the year when we couldn't really do anything.
The stands were definitely packed for your volleyball games. That was so cool. You know, with the soccer team and the volleyball team going toe to toe.
Yeah, that was so cool.
You know, winning game after game, and just kind of you know, the team, the spirit there that was shown in the stands. I think in the fall was unbelievable. I know our girls fed off that, and I think you guys did as well. So
we'd go before we had practice or before we had games, and you guys would do the same thing. It was really cool.
Teachers were literally canceling class to go to your game. So
that was great.
Pretty cool.
That was fun. You know, I think that was a really cool thing to see people walking down from the school. It's quite daunting, I think, and that's something we spoke about before the game, and that could be quite off-putting because we're not used to having the kind of the Friday night crowds that you guys get, and that was really cool.
I remember a bunch of the football guys were able to go to the when you guys played Rampo at Rampo the first time you played them and lost. And I remember like the people in the stands were
I heard
like,
you there.
Yeah. I remember the people in the stands were like, we were angry. We were like, we can't wait till they play them again.
Yeah.
So then and then you guys beat them twice in a row and in counties. And then I was just like, that was just amazing. And then I remember going to both games and being out there, and it was very cool.
I think, and again, it speaks to what all three of you spoke about, the culture. And I think that should only enhance, you know, the play on the field, hopefully. And if you feel like you're being supported by all your friends and the faculty here, you know, I think that definitely creates such a good atmosphere and an atmosphere as a player you want to play in, and should raise your level, hopefully, if you know you got a lot of people watching you and rooting for you.
Yeah, and celebrating your successes, you know, and I think that's such a great thing about the just the culture of this school in general, right? And we're talking to student athletes today, but when you talk about, you know, I had a conversation with kids from DECA a couple weeks back. You know, I've talked with, you know, kids that are in new players, and all the successes that this high school has. Everybody celebrates them amongst different groups. And that's what I think is great about the culture of the school. And you guys are helping to, you know, even bring that to the next level, showing that support for one another. It's really such an awesome thing to see. And to be honest, you know, I guess you could even say that people outside of here are starting to recognize these things too. And I'm going to put Joe Grasso on the spot here a little bit. Because you were just recognized just the other day, winning. It was the Steve DiGregorio
Super Football Conference Young Man of the Year.
The Young Man of the Year, right? In the Super Football Conference. And it was the inaugural award, too.
Yeah.
So you're the first winner of this award. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that real quick, or just how maybe you were nominated for that, and maybe just then, you know, what were your thoughts when you were announced as the winner?
Yeah. I'll explain a little bit about Mr. DiGregorio, who he was. He was a coach in Nutley, and he coached at Princeton, and he was a huge name in North Jersey and throughout the whole state. And, you know, he helped with all football stuff, and I knew him personally because he was very close with my dad, because they would do stuff together all the time. I mean, they would usually go have breakfast without telling their wives before they went to work. That's what he ended up telling me. And he helped me with getting into school and stuff a lot. But he passed away from cancer. And basically the whole award was every team it was 113 teams in the Super Football Conference, and it was made in 2016, so it's pretty new. Every one kid from every school was nominated by the principal, athletic director, and coach. And then, so 113 kids won, and they were nominated. I was nominated at the Hackensack game with the kid from Hackensack, and you take a picture at midfield with the plaque. And So then out of that 113, you put in they have coaches put in a recommendation for you, and they break it down to 8 nominees. A blind committee doesn't see anyone's name, because there's no bias, and they take the recommendations. They break it down to 8. So then the eight nominees go to MetLife Stadium, and we're up in one of the suites. It's really nice, and everyone gets a huge plaque, all the nominees, and then they announce a winner, and then they get I got a different plaque also, and then I was surprised with 2 Super Bowl tickets, which was very, very cool.
Excellent. No pressure.
I've had a lot of people ask me,
but I am available that weekend. So.
Yeah, congratulations, Joe. And I was just going to ask, about the 2 tickets. Are you? Have you decided who you're taking? You don't have to reveal that on here. But
so everyone seems to be free that weekend.
Yeah.
But
yeah,
just saying.
A lot of best friends, man.
Yeah. I'm taking my uncle,
Awesome.
Uncle Greg. It's gonna be a lot of fun.
Awesome.
Fantastic. Congratulations
Thank
again
you.
on that.
Well,
that
congratulations.
award.
Well deserved. And if I could put Mr. K on the spot too, you were just
Coach of the year.
I'm available that
awarded.
weekend. I am available.
Where are
yeah.
your Super Bowl tickets?
Yeah, right.
But you were actually given the award of being Coach of the Year for girls soccer.
I received the this past weekend at the banquet, the New Jersey Girls Soccer Association banquet, the State Coach of the Year and Region 1 State Coach of the Year, which was nice. It was great.
Congratulations.
So I have to pay a lot of people off now who voted for me. So it was nice, and it's to be voted by your peers is great.
It's very cool.
So
Congratulations.
thank you.
Congrats.
I have one more question for the panel, if that's okay. We'll call you a panel. There's a phrase that I've heard recently. Failure is not a tattoo, but a bruise. How, as a leader, would you feel? I'm sure you've all dealt with a lot of adversity on the field, a lot of adversity off the field. What advice would you give to your younger peers, if when dealing with adversity, within the athletic realm?
I think failing or losing, or when stuff happens within a team, it's definitely important to take a second and realize it and realize what's going on and address it with your team and with your friends, and just address the situation. And every team goes through it, whether it's the mid-season grind and everyone's tired and bruised up and a little sick of each other, and then you push past it, or whether you lose a big game. But I think something is definitely to do is acknowledge it and then be able to move on from it and go out to lunch after and laugh it off, or just move on from it and not forget about what happened, but learn from it and get stronger as a team and as a program from it. But like we said, the culture within the team is definitely important to make sure that doesn't break, because once that does, then you have nothing else for the season. It's not worth it to lose a whole team and a friendship over something that happened. So keeping that culture and keeping everyone together and pushing through it is definitely, I think, very important.
I would just say, remember who and what you're playing for. When things are going badly, people are quick to criticize, but it's important not to listen to all that outside noise. Just know you're playing for your teammates and everyone else around you, and they all want what's best for you. And that being said, like Shea said, you got to acknowledge when things are going badly in order to reverse the trend and make them go well. So an example, earlier this year we lost to Ramapo by 20 points. It wasn't close. And, Coach said the next practice is our most important practice of the year. This is the practice we'll find out what we're really made of. And that was probably our best practice of the year. And we're on a 5-game winning streak now. So, just that being said, acknowledge it and move on.
Let me ask you, Nicky, were there a lot of suicides in that next practice, or were you running a lot? Or?
There was a good amount of running. There was one drill. Ooh, what was it called? It was a defensive drill, and man, after that drill, I was gassed. But haven't done it since. So, yeah, warrior drill. That's what it's called.
Oh,
Oof,
yeah.
It's rough.
Yeah.
I would just say it's gonna happen. You're not gonna go through a year without any difficulties. Or you're not gonna go through a season without any faults or like it's really rare you go through a season without any losses, and so it's gonna happen. So you got to expect it to happen, and it's like how you're gonna respond to it, because it's it's kind of cheesy, but I think of you're a team as like an egg, right? Like it can crack, but once it opens up, like it's done. So I think like for instance, I would say like for football this year, like we had some losses, right? We had some tough losses where maybe like our offense didn't really move the ball, didn't score, and then the next game our defense, like against Rampo, we let up 42 points. Our defense was probably one of the best in the state, and we let up 42 points against Rampo, but our offense put up 47. So like the way they bounced back, like so their game when we didn't score, when we lost 7-0 to Irvington, that was just a crack, right? So I think you just gotta like deal with it. You gotta know what's gonna happen, and you gotta respond to it. And yeah,
for sure, you always learn more from your losses, I think, from your wins, and I think you all, alluded to that for sure.
Yeah, and you guys all seem to have this level-headedness about addressing those things, and I think that says a lot about the success of the teams that you've played on, where you guys have been leaders. Because Joe, I think you bring up a great point. It's going to happen, in some way, shape, or form, even if it isn't losses in the games, right? I think what people don't see are the efforts that you put in practice, and the things that you do to build each other up as a team on a daily basis. I think that's the stuff that people tend to forget, because they get so focused on the results. But I think something that you guys are kind of alluding to is that the results they take care of themselves, but the process is what actually gets you there, and whether it's a win or a loss, you don't neglect the process. If you do lose, you go back and you reflect on the process and adapt and adjust. It's similar to your phrase of failure being not being a tattoo but a bruise. I've heard that instead of successes and failures, it's successes and lessons. That you don't even fail. Failure's not final, but you learn a lesson from it. And I think that in some way, shape, or form, we're all saying something along those lines. And I think that ultimately, at the end of the day, we're talking about student athletes, right? And we've talked a lot about athletics and your successes there. But the same can be said in a classroom, on a quiz or a test or a paper where, man, that I did not like that, didn't like that result. But what can I do to fix it now? Control what I can and move forward. So, clearly you guys are very successful in the classroom and on the field, and apply those things in both areas. And, I want to just thank you guys for taking the time out of your schedule today to come and talk with us and share with our community, just your thoughts on the student athlete here at Ridgewood High School. So I really appreciate you guys taking the time, and thank you, Mr. K, for kind of spearheading this. And,
sure. Thanks for your time, guys.
Again.
Congratulations on all your
having me.
successes.
Yep.
Congratulations as you move out of here.
Thank you.
I'm a fan of the Maroon Minute.
I'll be tuning in.
And a thank you to the man behind the camera too, Mr. Luckenbill. This wouldn't be possible without him and our friend in the booth back there. Give us a thumbs up. There we go.
Yes. Thank you.
So thank you guys for allowing this to happen. And this has been another Maroon Minute. We'll see you guys soon.
Thank you.